Happy Christmas Eve, Bengals fans. I am your host, Stone Shields. Welcome into another edition of Bengals Breakdown. And coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about the Cincinnati Bengals playoff picture going into Week 17 here of the NFL season. Told you guys this video was coming, and here it is. The Bengals still have life, believe it or not. I think a few weeks ago, people wouldn't have thought that. It's not the case. Cincinnati still has a chance to squeak in to the 2024 NFL playoffs. We'll be talking about the path for them. Of course, they're going to have to win out. We all know that, but we're going to be talking about some things that need to go on around the AFC in order for them to sneak in this season. But before we do that, make sure you guys give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_ or X, whatever you want to call it. Boss said we got to get up to 500 followers here by the end of the month, which is in a week, 1 week's time. So hopefully we can do that. All of our Bengals breakdown content will be posted to my Twitter page. You'll start to see some more YouTube shorts up on that Twitter page as well. And of course, injury updates, roster moves, all the good stuff from the beat reporters. You will find that at my page as well. So give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_ would be greatly appreciated. All right, so here's the big picture as far as the AFC playoffs look right now. There's probably a lot of people out there that say, this thing's kind of figured out here at this point, but really not the case. Obviously, it is the NFL and crazy stuff happens with this league. Obviously, the battle for the AFC North now with Pittsburgh dropping some games is going to be something to consider as well, because Baltimore and the Steelers are going to be kind of vying for that, that home playoff game as a division winner. But as you see, the Bengals currently sit at 7-8, along with the Dolphins and the Colts. Need some things to go their way if they're going to get in. Let's talk about what those things are. Obviously, the Bengals need to win out. Talked about that, but this football team's hot right now. They've won 3 games in a row. First time they've done that all season long. The Broncos must lose out, which we'll kind of dive into more stuff regarding Denver, of course, later on in the show. But you play Denver this week, so that's an opportunity to get you a win and get them a loss, kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. Also, the Colts and Dolphins need to each lose one of their final 2 games, at least one of their final 2 games. Both those teams kind of have an easy schedule here at this point. So that is something that is a little bit concerning. But let's get to the pinned comment before we fully dive in to all of these scenarios. Will the Bengals make the playoffs? Let me know in the comment section. Type Y for yes or N for no. If that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comment section and let us know what you think. Here is what is on the docket for the Cincinnati Bengals. As we know, taking on the Denver Broncos Week 17 at home on a Saturday, late afternoon slot, 4:30. And then going to Pittsburgh for Week 18 on the road, Acrisure Stadium. Really should be a great game in that one as well. Of course, assuming the Bengals are able to take care of business on Saturday against the Broncos. So definitely not an easy schedule, but I think Cincinnati is going to beat Denver this week. They're really starting to click as a football team. We finally saw the defense play well. I get it against the Cleveland Browns, who are terrible, but still only gave up 6 points. I think that is noteworthy. I'm expecting Cincinnati to get a victory on Saturday against the Denver Broncos. That means they'll be going into Pittsburgh with a chance, even if all the other things don't go their way this weekend. If they have a win on Saturday, they are going to go in to the final week of the NFL season with a chance. Now let's talk about the Denver Broncos, what is on their schedule. They had a brutal end of the season. If you remember, they played the Chargers on Thursday night, and then they got to go Bengals Chiefs, who a lot of people probably thought were going to be the 2 best teams in the AFC this season. Obviously, I mentioned at the top, you kind of got the 2 birds with 1 stone here. You get a win, that means a loss for Denver. Check in that regard. And then you got to deal with the Kansas City Chiefs at home. And this is going to be a very, very interesting game for the Denver Broncos. We're not exactly sure what's going to be going on for the Kansas City Chiefs in that game, if they'll have the 1 seed wrapped up or not, if we'll see Patrick Mahomes in that game or not. But even without their starters, it's still Andy Reid, and they're still trying to have a really good season, and probably at that point trying not to have a second loss on the season. We'll talk about the Chiefs more in depth here in a moment, but before that, I do want to give a shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks, because they are the sponsor of today's show. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with PrizePicks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. PrizePicks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Join now because this holiday season, PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Again, PrizePicks is the best place to get action on over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. They also have the flex play over at PrizePicks. This is what we threw together here at Chat Sports for our flex play slate here this weekend. Going with the Rico Dowdle more than rushing yards. He's been hot of late. Going with the more than Jared Goff passing yards as well. And going with the Hunter Henry more than receiving yards in his matchup as a member of the New England Patriots. So a lot of more thans there on our slate of PrizePicks with our flex play. But the beautiful thing about flex play, you don't have to get all of those correct. You can still miss one and double your money. So download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's PrizePicks. Run your game. Here's what the Chiefs have to deal with as far as their remaining 2 games go. Got the Steelers, who, of course, have been struggling of late, but are definitely a playoff team. No doubt about that. Mike Tomlin, another great job this year, getting a number of wins, going to sneak in, or not sneak in the playoffs, get into the playoffs. And then that matchup in Week 18 that we were talking about with the Denver Broncos. A little bit difficult for Kansas City because they're going to Mile High to take on Denver that week. Look, I don't feel great about Pittsburgh in this football game, just to be completely honest with you. Pittsburgh has struggled, and of course it's the Kansas City Chiefs, who essentially have owned the NFL for the past 3 years at this point. But it could be a lot worse. They could be facing off against the Jaguars or the Panthers or somebody that's like, oh, there's no chance. Mike Tomlin at home, heck yeah, there's a chance that he can get this done. As you guys know, the Chiefs have been really dominant this year, but they've also been really lucky. Dominant in terms of winning football games, but they've had a lot of luck go their way at the end of football games. That's kind of why they have the record in which they do. And Pittsburgh's got a ton to play for. Taking a look at the AFC North standings here, they've kind of dropped some games recently, let Baltimore back into the mix. I do believe Baltimore's a better football team, so I think this is kind of just balancing out at this point for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they're going to be doing everything they can to win this football game. They want that home playoff game. And, after they lost last week, that kind of set them back, gives Baltimore a chance. And they're going to be giving everything they have in this game. So hopefully Pittsburgh can pull it out. Crazy to say, but us as Bengals fans, we absolutely are rooting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. One note I do want to make that I meant to mention earlier with the Kansas City Chiefs, we will see what happens regards to resting starters for the Chiefs, because somebody made an interesting point, or I kind of came up with this a little bit this morning. If they were to beat Pittsburgh, clinch the 1 seed, and then they sit their starters, that would be literally almost a month of rest, because they play on Wednesday. They play on Christmas. Wednesday, they would sit the starters Week 18, and then they would have the bye the first round of the playoffs. So it would be nearly a month before they played football again. There's a chance that even if the Kansas City Chiefs win against the Pittsburgh Steelers, you might see Mahomes and company a little bit in that game against Denver as well, despite having the 1 seed locked up. Let's move on to Buffalo, who also is very important in this equation. Bengals fans need the Jets to lose to the Buffalo Bills, because even if the Steelers beat the Kansas City Chiefs, but if the Bills fall to the Jets, the Chiefs still wrap up that 1 seed. So definitely still Bills fans at this point want to have the Chiefs playing their starters in Week 18. Again, maybe they still play because they don't want the super long layoff if they're able to clinch it against Pittsburgh, but regardless, should be cheering for the Buffalo Bills as well. Let me know who you got in this Christmas Day matchup. Absolutely massive game in regards to the AFC playoff picture. Going to be on Netflix. Type C for the Chiefs or S for the Steelers. Let me know in the comments section of today's video. All right, two other teams that play important roles into this equation. The first of which being the Miami Dolphins. Was really hoping the San Francisco 49ers were going to be able to put it together and get a victory over the Dolphins, but they were not able to do it. So now you take a look at the Dolphins' schedule. They're better football teams than the Browns and the Jets, but going on the road to Cleveland and on the road to New York, it's been well documented. Tua, the Dolphins, when it comes to cold weather, they struggle. So they're going to probably be favorites in both of these games, but that cold weather could be a factor, and hopefully for the Bengals' sake, they slip up in one of these games. Wish Jameis was playing for Cleveland. I think he gives them a better chance, but as far as I know, it's probably going to be DTR once again for the Browns. Also, the Indianapolis Colts need to lose one of these two football games. They, too, have a very, very weak schedule, certainly probably even weaker, definitely even weaker than what the Miami Dolphins are dealing with in this home stretch. The Giants currently have the number 1 overall pick. So I don't know. Who knows if they're even going to be attempting to win that football game. They're trying to get their pick of the litter between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders for the number 1 overall pick. So we'll see. Again, professional football team. They're trying to go out and win, but the Giants lost. I don't think they would be too ticked off about it. The Jaguars have beaten the Colts a lot in the past. It very well could come down to that. That game, unfortunately, is going to be in Indianapolis. Not that Jacksonville has much of a home field advantage at all, but the Colts are probably going to be heavy favorites in those games. Bengals fans need an upset in one of these if they're going to be able to sneak into the playoffs. Good news here is Miami and Indianapolis, they're not that good. If you guys have watched them this season, so you sit there and you look at their schedules and think, oh, God, there's no way they're going to lose. But these football teams are not very good teams. They have flaws all over the place, so an upset definitely is a possibility. But my prediction at the end of the day is I think the Bengals are going to fall just barely short. It's what my gut tells me. It's kind of just been that kind of year, right? I expect them to beat Denver. I expect them to go into Week 18 with a chance. And, heck, I'll even go out there and say they're going to go beat Pittsburgh on the road the final week of the season. And they'll probably get two things to go their way in regards to the Broncos, the Colts, and the Dolphins. I bet two things go their way and one thing holds them back. Just kind of the vibes of the season. That's the vibe I'm getting right now. I think they're going to fall just barely short as far as getting into the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong. We'll see. But that is my prediction here at this point. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already. We, of course, Bengals beat the Broncos. We're going to have another playoff picture video for you guys next week. Also have a preview coming your way for this Bengals and Broncos matchup. We'll also be live on Saturday for our watch party. Don't miss any of our Cincinnati Bengals coverage. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV.